Hello, everyone. Today's episode, I have Kevin Kramer, CEO of US Cryotherapy. Hello, Kevin.
Hi, Dimitri. How are you?
Nice meeting you. So Kevin is the CEO of US Cryotherapy. It's a service that offers cryotherapy throughout the country, and they operate 22 locations. So Kevin, tell us a little bit about cryotherapy and how the company was started and challenges that you guys had when you opened the company and to where you are now.
Okay, well, I think we might be uniquely different in terms of the challenges because we founded the cryotherapy industry in the United States. So we opened the first retail treatment center back in 2011 in our home state of California, and we basically created the concept and awareness around the use of whole body cryotherapy in treatment for recovery, for faster recovery, better health. We've since grown that model to multiple wellness or alternative health modalities in terms of stimulating recovery and repair, utilizing localized cold air therapy, utilizing vibration, compression therapy, deep muscle pulsation. We're now doing photobiomodulation, red light therapy, as well as pulse electromagnetic frequency. So we're an all-inclusive holistic wellness center concept that has expanded to now 6 company-owned centers that go along with that one that we started as the flagship. And then we launched a franchising division. We have 17 franchises that are currently open, with about 4 or 5 more that are in build-out. And so our objective was to, and it's a challenge, but our objective was to educate people on the awareness of what whole body cryotherapy can do. So over the last 6 to 8 years, we've seen in the press, there's celebrities and athletes that are using whole body cryotherapy for their recoveries. But really what we see in our centers on a day-to-day basis are the mainstream public that are dealing with chronic pain and repetitive stress issues and acute injury from recreational to high school to somewhat elite level athletics. And so it's emerging now. There's a much greater awareness for whole body cryotherapy, but it still has a long way to go.
All right, amazing. It's really, really good. In terms of beginning of US Cryotherapy, when you guys started, did you target athletes? Did you have it, just for the teams, and then you expanded to, regular consumer?
Yeah, interestingly, it was founded in Europe, and the way that it evolved there was really through the hospital clinics. And there was some research, quite a bit now, that had been done on rheumatoid arthritis and fibromyalgia, and then later chronic inflammatory skin conditions like eczema, psoriasis, and the dermatitis. And then it sort of expanded into the general population, right, into retail.
Sure.
And so in the United States, we took a little different approach, and we started it at a retail level because we were going to be offering treatments that we weren't making medical claims around. And so still in the United States marketplace, from a regulatory standpoint, there are no approved medical devices or medical claims around these therapies. However, we've done 1.5 million treatments, and we track every one of them. There are, hundreds of thousands of testimonials on the recovery and the repair and protection in terms of the body and the things that whole body cryotherapy does. So the early infusion, or the low-hanging fruit, if you will, were the athletes and celebrities, primarily the NBA, because there were a lot of European players that had some exposure to whole body cryotherapy. And so they recognized when we had opened. So we'd get, teams that were traveling through Sacramento, we'd get NBA teams to come into our center and use the treatments. And then we started to sell some to the training rooms. And we've evolved a lot over the last 8 years in terms of the equipment and the systems that we run in the centers. But we're the leaders, with it. One thing to differentiate is that we do only electric cooled whole body walk-in chambers. And there's a very big difference between those and the products that you've seen at times where you have your head out of the top using liquid nitrogen. Mm-hmm. So they're using a gas that has some hazardous, risk factors for use, and they're doing forced air cooling in the nitrogen products. Whereas our equipment, you open the door and walk in, and it exposes the whole body from head to toe, which is more effective on whole body outcomes, but also safer. And so we've had to educate a lot on that, but we're in, over a dozen professional sports training rooms with our equipment now. We're in high-end spas like, Bighorn Country Club or Equinox Resort Hotels. We're in gyms now with our equipment. So we've slowly kind of grown this space and become a leader with both the sales of equipment directly to entities that want to do whole body cryotherapy, while at the same time building out our system of treatment centers.
Okay. That's great. So I personally never tried cryotherapy before, but I know it's very beneficial for athletes. It definitely speeds up recovery.
Yeah. Well, let me stop you on that, because one of the things that people always say is for athletes, and that's what I was communicating, is that if you think about it, whole body cryotherapy at a physiological level drops skin temperature, which then creates a central nervous system response. And that kicks the brain into protection and repair. And it's modulating hormones and proteins that are very good at the site of injuries, but also to kind of flush the system. So it improves whole body circulation. It decreases whole body inflammation. It improves with the release of endorphins and other modulating hormones, mood, energy, and stress levels, right? And it helps improve sleep patterns.
Sure.
So all of those things combined are extreme. That's immune system health as well, right?
Absolutely.
That helps people feel better, sleep better, recover better, get more out of their exercise and their workouts. So while it is something that athletes and celebrities in Hollywood and other areas have adopted, it's more beneficial for people that are dealing day to day with chronic pain.
Sure.
Right?
That's why, I give you a lot of credit, because it's really hard to educate a customer on a new technology or new type of treatment, because as you said, I mean, not that I think it that way, but a lot of people think that's actually for athletes, and educating clients and bringing it to the market for just an average, client, just saying, hey, it's not just for athletes, it's for anybody else, and it's costly. So tell me about investment. So you guys, when you started the company, it was your family, I believe, right? It was over 9 years ago. How much funding was involved? Did you bootstrap the company, or was there private equity involved? So what was the model?
Yeah, it's an interesting story. We bootstrapped everything to this point. We've never had an outside investor.
Beautiful.
We've grown the space and grown it to a level of profitability. Now we've pretty much invested everything back into the business to add new company-owned centers and to continue down the expansion of equipment and adding other resources within the centers. But we're finally now at a point, pre-COVID, we're going to have to get back to it, but we're at a point where we have been entertaining investment interest. Because we do believe that it's at a point now where it's a significantly large enough business with a footprint that can demonstrate that whole growth in the marketplace, so that we should bring in some capital to actually infuse that a little bit. Because we want to get to 100 centers, and we want to have the equipment approved for medical use and reimbursement. And that's you start to realize as you're growing a business that there are certain things that you can invest in and grow, but there are certain things that are outside of that realm.
Makes sense. So just let me clarify. So the reason you guys interested in investment now, just speed up the process to get to 100 locations in a faster period of time versus doing it yourself.
Yeah, it's just an accelerant, right? We're growing. We're adding a couple of centers a year. We're adding a few franchise centers a year. But the market now, there's enough awareness in the market with competition and with what we're doing that people realize that somebody needs to really turn this into a huge leadership and footprint and medical authority standpoint. So we've got all the connections right now with research facilities to do medical research on our equipment. And we've got connections. We're partnered with the NFL Alumni Association. We treat members of theirs around the country. Mm-hmm. And as I mentioned, we're in a lot of high-end resort and Medi-Spa locations with our equipment, as well as our recognized brand footprint of centers around the country. So people are paying attention to that now, whereas early on, the first, call it 5 years of our growth, there was just a lack of awareness of what whole body cryotherapy was.
Sure.
And there wasn't as much for anybody to invest in terms of centers and footprint and technology. Mm-hmm. So we've decided now that we're at a point where it makes a lot of sense.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So Kevin, and
sorry,
it was, how many people were involved? How many partners were in the business?
So we founded the business as a family. So my dad actually brought the concept to us after experiencing it in Europe, and brought the three brothers, myself and my older brother Rob, and my younger brother Todd, and we all got together and grew the business. And so we're at nationwide now. We have about 70 employees across our 6 centers in corporate, and then probably 150 plus now, more than that, probably counting all of the franchises and the staff with the franchises. My dad unfortunately passed away in 2000, at the end of 2017. So it's just the 3 brothers running the business now. But our mission is really to expand awareness more, educate more, get to a medical approval so that there's prescriptive and reimbursable use at the centers, which was his dream. My dad's dream was to make it available at a nationwide level so that people could protect and repair and recover.
Sure. Kevin, great story. So here in the US, how many states are you guys in?
12 or 13. I think 12.
And you actually answered one of my questions. You employ 70 people right now in US Cryotherapy. So the business model, so you have 22 of your own locations, plus you have a franchisees, right, that buy into the brand, right? And you guys help them to kind of start and operate their own companies. Is that how it works?
Yeah, actually we have 6 company-owned centers, and we at a corporate level, and we employ all of the staff at those centers, and we have a corporate staff. And that represents probably 45 to 50 employees total, just estimating.
I see.
And we have a franchising division. We have some employees that help run that division. And then we have the 17 franchises that are open, 16 that are open, and 1 that's in development. It just opened pre-COVID, but will now reopen. And then we have 2 in build out right now.
Okay. We'll talk about COVID and how it affected your business. But for franchisees, if I were a franchisee I wanted to buy your business, to buy into the business, how does it work? How much investment do I need to start off? And, how does it work? So what are your terms?
Yeah. We still don't utilize a heavy retail sales force on that. So people come to us directly. We get a lot of leads and interest through our website at www.uscryotherapy.com. There's a franchising piece you can fill out. And then we offer 2 different models. We offer a small system model, which is a tight footprint, smaller chamber, fewer pieces of equipment, lower operating expense. That's anywhere from $300,000 to $350,000 all-in investment to get the doors open. And then we have a larger model that we run. Most of our company-owned centers are larger footprint centers built for higher volume customer traffic, larger chamber, more modalities, of course, higher operating expenses as it relates to all those things. And so we sort of vet the franchisees and what they're interested in, what their thresholds look like, and what marketplace they're in. And then, like anything else, they'd sign a franchise agreement. We have materials that we've developed, all electronic. We have a franchise portal, marketing materials, training. We have an in-house team that helps work with from an operations standpoint, their openings, and then ongoing activity with the franchisees, developing the marketing plans, et cetera. So we offer a lot of support, but I would suggest that anybody wanting to get into business has to do it for the right reasons. So when people look at it strictly as an investment, it probably doesn't have the return that other franchise investments have right now. But if they're passionate about helping people recover and feel better and live younger, those are really important attributes. And if they're passionate about getting out into the community and creating an awareness for their business, they'll do very well. If they open the doors and think people are going to come because it's cryotherapy, they're sadly mistaken, and then they'll, from an investment standpoint, then they'll be disappointed on that.
Right. It's a service business, right? It takes a lot of effort. And how much percentage do you guys take from the franchisee?
So we do a 6% royalty, gross monthly sales, and we have a 1% national marketing fund.
And on average, what net profit revenue each franchisee could make?
It's still such an early model because we only started franchising in 2016 and we're ramping up. But we have an FDD like any other franchisee, and all of that information is in there. So I don't like to speak to it off the cuff, but I would refer people to the FDD in item 19 that looks at the high, the low, the average, the median, and what the revenues look like.
Sure. Okay, fine. And for your businesses, for your personal locations, I'm sorry, not personal, but the location that you guys run and operate yourself, do you guys buy space or you rent office space? How do you operate?
Yeah, it's all leasehold. So we lease locations.
You lease
usually
location.
going to 7 to 10-year lease programs. The franchise agreement's a 10-year term, so we tell people to try to align those things where they can. Yeah, I mean, it's all lease. We're not purchasing properties.
Okay, got it. So those locations, so you have independent standing locations. What about those models where you team up with gyms or high-end country clubs? How does it work? You guys sell them equipment, or you just operate on their premises where, you know, or you charge them percentage? How does it work?
So we've actually done both. We have a franchisee that has 3 locations in their gyms, and that's a little bit different type of a partnership than a retail brick and mortar center.
Sure.
Primarily because when you look at the gym space, it's all being compressed into lower cost memberships, so the retail price points are a little bit different.
Sure.
We also have a national agreement with Army Air Force Exchange, and we've been awarded a national agreement to build our retail centers on military bases. And so we've built 2 already. We're at Fort Hood and Fort Bliss with retail treatment centers. And those are the company-owned locations, 2 of the company-owned locations. And then we have a direct sales division that will sell equipment if it doesn't compete with a franchise territory. So if we already have a territory, then we're not going to sell equipment in that space, but we have so few right now at a geographical level that we're still able to sell equipment to, you know, other gyms and high-end med spas. We're in Next Health, which has 3 locations, which is a very high-end elite med spa, and our equipment's there. And essentially, we're then a supplier of the recovery equipment with the chambers, a lot of times the localized device or compression therapy and other items that we'll sell for their space. We'll train them and to use the equipment, but unlike a franchisee, they don't get the benefit of all the marketing materials, the customer management system, the extensive additional training on all of the elements of running a cryotherapy business.
Sure.
That's exclusive to the franchise system.
All right. So that means you have another model where you just strictly sell equipment, and your equipment, you guys, it's European made, or is it made in the United States?
Yes. The first 2 centers that we opened, it started as European made, and we had a distribution agreement there. In 2015 and into 16, we actually funded the research and development of our own equipment through a manufacturing partner. So we have now a US entity that builds the equipment, installs it, and services the equipment at a nationwide level. And since 2016, we've now put out about 75, maybe 80 chambers.
And then you guys, it comes with certification of some sort?
It comes with, you know, sort of your standard training on what is whole body cryotherapy, how to operate the equipment, what to look for in terms of contraindications. And then after that, the customer utilizes it the way they see fit from a pricing model and marketing standpoint and all other aspects.
Got it. So just to clarify, so those facilities like gyms and sports clubs, they just buy equipment. You don't really operate their, you know, your cryotherapy kind of model in their gyms. They just kind of strictly buy the equipment. Okay.
Yeah. So like in the Chicagoland area, we had Export Fitness, which is a 40 gym entity there, purchased 3, you know, recovery room setups. So in 3 of their gyms, they operate whole body cryotherapy and localized, similarly to what you'd get if you walked into a US Cryotherapy Center at a retail level, but they operate it within their gym structure.
Sure. Very good.
And with all the proteins, right? We train the head athletic trainers and their staff, and then they implement whole body cryotherapy for their players on whatever protocol they decide.
Okay. Very good. That's very, very interesting. So do you have any physical therapy owners, you know, rehab clinics that utilize cryotherapy or bought equipment from you?
Yeah, it's interesting. The inquiries that we've received from the beginning to where we are today are a lot more heavily focused from the medical community. So we have a couple of chiropractic groups that own franchises. We have a sports medicine group that owns a franchise. I don't know that we have 1 physical therapist within our network that's a part owner in one of the franchises as well. If, you know, what we do in the community from a packaged marketing and community and business to business selling concept, at many of our locations, we get referrals from physical therapy and from occupational health and from, you know, chiropractic, because they start to realize we're not competing for their customer and their business. We're actually offering an adjunctive treatment that can help reduce inflammation and make them more effective.
Absolutely.
And so as we establish our brand in communities, we get more and more referral and partnerships in those areas. And that's what's led to, interest from that community to be involved in running their own centers.
Great, great. And that's a great business model. So for your locations, what's the membership fee? You guys have memberships, right? And you have one-time kind of pass that customers could use. How does it work?
Yeah, I mean, we have a very simple, single service ad hoc menu that's a little higher priced if people want to just come in and pay for services at one at a time. And then we start to discount down based on 1 month, 3 month, annual passes, or a recurring membership. So we try to limit the number of options, and we try to advise the customers based on their conditions. So if somebody comes in and they're local within 10 to 15 miles and they've got an acute injury, then our technicians will give them a first-time customer treatment of multiple touches. So that would be chamber, maybe localized, maybe Normatec compression, for $45 as your walk-in, first-time treatment.
Mm-hmm.
But then we're going to talk to them about, look, just like anything else, you've got to commit. Give us a month. Come in 2 to 3 times a week to really see the outcomes. And we'll credit you that $45 towards the purchase of a $199 1-month unlimited pass, right? Mm-hmm. And so then they can come in 30 days in a row if they want. We highly recommend that if people make it a routine, they see compounding benefits. Because if they're using it regularly, you start to notice the benefits of improved sleep patterns and energy increases and mood increases. And then they start to see the reductions of inflammation, so the range of motion gets better. And when those things start to happen, they're able to get more out of their workouts or recover faster, get back to activity faster. And so then that's when the testimonials are amazing.
Yeah, makes total sense. Kevin, and how long does the treatment take?
So most of our customers are in our center 20, 25 minutes. So 3.5 minutes is the maximum on the chamber. We start everybody at 2.5 minutes inside the chamber, and we measure skin temperatures, and then we're going to adjust the time up to 3.5 minutes based on what the outcome was for the second treatment and beyond. And then after that 3.5 minutes, they're going to warm up for maybe 2 to 3, and then they're going to get a second or a third treatment touch. Might be a 3-minute, deep muscle pulsation Theragun, might be a 10-minute Normatec compression treatment. And so typically they're in there 20, 25 minutes and then they're out.
Okay. And do you have any clients that don't respond well to treatment?
Yeah, like anything. I mean, the biggest thing that we find is that people get a little uncomfortable going into a really cold room. And it takes a time or two to really realize, okay, this is not really that terribly cold. It's cold, but it changes your skin temperature, not so much drop your core. Right. So when you come out, your skin temperature changes and increases very quickly, and it's not like you're shivering and freezing cold. You actually rewarm very quickly. And so once people get that and have done it a time or two, then they love the outcomes. But like anything, there's, there are people who don't see the same benefit that others might. I will tell you, if you have chronic or acute pain, you're going to see an immediate improvement in range of motion and reduction of pain. And it's the underlying things that are going to help with the improvement of that condition. So improving the circulation or getting modulating hormones and proteins to the site of an injury, helping with circulation, those things, you don't notice those as benefits, but long-term, they're very helpful in terms of the recovery. So that's why people over time, over that 1 month period of use, start to really feel like they have a much better quality of life. And then they become, more long-term users.
Absolutely. And what temperature's in there?
Our temperature range in treatment runs from about -155 to up to -185 Fahrenheit. It really depends on how frequently and how many people are in the chamber and what's being used.
Yeah.
The primary objective is just changing skin temperature from start to exit. So if you're dropping, and we measure all around the core, which is where you want to drop the skin temperature. So most of the time we'll measure like in the back of the shoulder or the triceps, because that's sort of the closest location to the vital organs. But we want to make sure we're dropping skin temperature anywhere from 30 to about 45 degrees is the max. And if you get that change, we know that stimulates that whole central nervous system response. And it's going to change from body type to body type. So higher BMI typically is going to get colder because there's more fat at the skin layers.
Sure.
And very lean vascular, like the athletes, the NBA players and things that we get through, they're going to be on the lower end of that 30-degree drop. Whereas, I go in with them at the same time, I might be 40-degree drop.
Got it. Okay. And do you have any clients that interested in leasing the equipment? Is that an option to lease the equipment, or you guys strictly sell it?
Yeah, we get a lot of requests for that. And we work with a lot of capital lenders. We're an SBA 7A preferred franchisor. So people can get funding or leasing for the equipment through a third party, and we'll give the referrals to that, but we don't internally lease.
You don't internally lease. Got it. And how much does the equipment vary in price?
For a whole package at a center for chamber and other equipment, it's probably on the low side, 185,000. On the high side, it might be, 250 to 260 on the larger pieces of equipment. At a single chamber, if you're just buying a chamber, it's about, 155 to 165,000, depending on tax and other implications. And then on the large side, it's around 260 for that equipment. So it really depends on what the purchase looks like and other things.
Makes sense. All right. Kevin, so with COVID-19 now, how is your business affected? I'm sure, are you operating in any states right now, or everything on hold?
So we were closed down from early March for about 60 days. It's unfortunate because, if we'd had the opportunity to lobby and suggest that we were an essential business that could help people,
Sure.
with protection and repair, I think that we probably would have been able to stay open. And we could have probably made that argument, but people aren't out and about, so they're not using retail services.
Right.
But we're reopened. 90% of the locations are reopened now. We've changed the parameters based on the guidelines. So we're doing more appointment only, spreading out the traffic flow, doing more of the personal protective equipment right when they walk through the door. But we're treating, anywhere from 30 to 45 customers a day right now at most locations.
Okay.
That's probably at about 40 to 50% of capacity of what the larger centers were doing normally, but we are getting people to come back.
Okay, great.
And I think the benefit really is that people are now thinking, okay, I'm getting out. I want to focus on creating a routine again. I want to be healthy. And if they think about that active lifestyle, one of the major components of that is protection, right? So they might feel fine, but they want to go out and actually stimulate, better health so that they can protect better against pathogens and injury and everything else.
All right. Makes total sense. COVID-19 definitely affected many businesses, especially service businesses, including, I'm in rehab field, and a lot of physical therapy clients that we have for our EMR system, they close their doors temporarily. Some actually close their doors permanently. So it's a huge problem. Kevin, what do you guys use? Which system do you guys use for scheduling and just practice management?
So within our franchise and company-owned centers, we actually built our own intellectual property around customer management. So we have an electronic wavering and check-in system that then moves the customer to our front desk and then to our treatment stations. And that allows us to capture a lot of data for our centers.
Sure.
And then through that, we tie in Acuity as our scheduler currently, although we'll be building into our system a scheduling program maybe at some point. But it's a point of sale. It's an outbound marketing program. It ties in our e-commerce platform. It allows us to go on the back end and look at a lot of customer analytics and data. And that's really sort of the whole secret sauce behind what we do at US Cryotherapy as a brand. Yeah.
Got it. And what's the name of the system?
So we built it from the ground up. So we call it CryoQ.
CryoQ. Got it. And actually leads me to my next question. So which reports do you guys look at? So I'm sure you will. Are you looking at how many minutes clients spend in the waiting room before being seen, or is there like one of the reports you guys run?
Yeah. So most of the time pre-COVID, we don't really have a waiting room because we can treat anywhere from 20 customers an hour in the small centers to 40 to 50 an hour in the large centers.
Right.
So it really was walk in. But what we do is everybody that checks in for a first time, we do get some survey information. And then we track all of the treatments through the chamber. Every time they come in, they re-waiver and to say nothing's changed since the last visit. That allows us to go back in behind the system and look at the key metrics that we measure our performance of our centers by. So one of it is revenue per customer check-in, right? So we want to look at our total number of customer check-ins and our total monthly revenue And we divide that and we say, okay, our system averages about $30+ per customer check-in. That's a combination of all of the blend of services that people would buy, either a monthly pass or a new customer visit. And we want to continue to keep that on the high end. And then we look at total customer volume, new customer traffic, and that lets us know what our acquisition cost looks like. And we can measure that on day by day, week by week, or annual basis, whatever you want to do. And it'll spit out reports and whatever parameters you put in. Then we also look at our conversion rates from a first-time customer buyer. So somebody walks in as a new customer, uniquely new, they have to fill out the questionnaire and it'll be labeled that they did a first-time questionnaire. And then we can look at whether or not that customer purchased something additional from there.
Sure.
Which directs our staff to focus the attention on one-time treatment isn't going to get you what you're looking for. We want you to commit to something. Give us a 3-pass treatment to try it and get used to it. Give us a 1 month to show you what we can do in terms of your recovery. So we look at a lot of analytics behind the scenes that really help you pinpoint what's going on, both from a marketing, new customer acquisition, converting that new customer to a longer term user, and what the lifetime value of that longer term customer looks like for the system.
Yeah, very great. Being data driven is the key to success. Yeah. Kevin, what is your customer acquisition cost?
That one is a little bit variable because we don't really have a lot of data on what our franchisees spend on local marketing and boosting and Facebook ads, et cetera. But it's very low.
Based on your clinics. Based on the
company-owned centers, it's probably $2 to $3.
Okay.
So it's fairly low, but there's this exponential point where you could spend more and gain more out of it. So if you break it down, where we're at right now is pretty good for us because we can acquire the customers that we're looking for to grow the business at that $2. We could spend $10 to acquire the customer and get more, but we don't know exactly where that sort of break even
right.
Line. Yeah.
All right. And how, in terms of marketing, so what do you use for marketing? Is it social media? Is it billboards? What does it look like?
It's mostly the combination of social media, community and business to business relationships. Event marketing. We do a lot of tabling and pop-ups, and we do a lot of in the community services for events and things. So it's a combination of those. Those are fixed expenses when you're working in the community or building partnerships versus most of the targeted advertising that we do is through social media and boosted posting and promos and driving people to our e-commerce platform.
Got it. And what percentage of revenue do you guys spend on marketing, would you say?
So, within the system, we're looking for 5% of gross monthly. Okay. We probably spend a little bit more than that at a corporate level because we do beta test a lot of the marketing programs that we like to roll out then to the franchise system.
Makes sense. All right. Great, Kevin. So what is your long-term plan for US Cryotherapy?
The awareness level has gone up now. I would love to see this in every major city around the country. I'd love to see, research institutions and researchers become interested in looking at whole body cryotherapy, in particular as it relates to the autoinflammatory diseases, post-surgical inflammation issues, and some of the other aspects of what whole body can do. And if we can get that platform of research and we can get to the point where it's medically recognized and prescribed and reimbursable, there'll be 1,000 centers around the country that can help people recover faster and live younger and live better lives. But if we continue to do it organically, it grows more slowly.
Oh, it's a great idea, especially in physical therapy world, just like ultrasound or electric stimulation type of modality. This could be used in physical therapy field, with the same purpose. All right. And Kevin, last few questions. If you were to start the business, again, what would you do different?
I ask myself that all the time. I think most business owners probably do. Probably just take a little bit different approach to building the infrastructure and preparing for the launch of a first center, right? I think we went into that a little blindly, thinking that, okay, people will become interested and we'll educate. And it's just a much more difficult task to get to a national platform to educate and then, projecting competition and what they're going to be coming in and saying and how they're going to market and trying to counter some of the misleading marketing maybe that might be coming from competition. So there's a lot of factors there. Identifying your supply line very clearly and knowing exactly which equipment you're going to be utilizing. And so, there are a lot of those things that I'd go back and tweak a little bit, but from a delivery of the services and the outcomes that we've provided people, I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, we've had phenomenal testimonials. It's just unfortunate that really probably we're at a 30% national awareness level for what centers like ours can do for people. If they get in and that's chronic in nature, an acute injury, post-surgical, and they utilize our center for a month, they're an avid fan and user. And so we just need more of that.
Yeah, totally. Kevin, and how many hours a week would you say you spent on running and operating US Cryotherapy?
Now, anytime you're self-employed and you're a founder of a business, the work really never ends.
Sure.
So it's kind of hard to predict, but I'm up extremely early. I like to try to get some exercise. I'm at my desk by, 6:30 a.m. usually most days, and back at it after dinner, and whatever it takes.
Sure. All right, Kevin, thank you so much for your time today. It was a great pleasure speaking to you and finding out more about cryotherapy. How can customers reach you? Those clients that are interested in adding cryotherapy service to their clinics or facilities, what's the best way to contact you? Or
everything is very visible at www.uscryotherapy.com. You can go through there. You can look at the equipment that we provide, the centers, the locations. You can look at franchising options versus direct sales options and how we would work with customers. So that's the starting point.
All right. Kevin, again, thank you so much for your time, and I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks.